What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the supposed second mixtape by Chippy Nonstop. Basically, this project is called Money Dance 101 and it came out in the summer of 2012. The thing about this particular project is, once again, this is a tougher to find project by Chippy Nonstop. It's kind of pulled from like the digital marketplace as far as that pitch kind of goes along with it. Between basically supposedly Chippy Nonstop's debut project, which was Global School Twerk from like the spring of 2012, is kind of tougher to track down as well. Both of these are kind of relatively almost entirely hard to find. I'm not even sure if there's full blown up on YouTube as far as that pitch can happen. If they are, it's only like, I want to say there's actually like one YouTube channel that has it in particular, but it's just very low key nowadays, especially when you look it up on like Google or Bing or some of those type search engines, Yahoo, some of those type places. It's just not as full blown really around. Places like Discogs, Rate Your Music, some of those type places don't really even list Chippy Nonstop's full blown discography. So it's just kind of low key. Makes me question why she pulled those particular projects back in the day. It's kind of an unfortunate thing, or it's a full blown kind of unfortunate thing, because a lot of these are like 10 out of 10 projects that I'd say. I definitely was pretty fond of Global School of Twerk back when I reviewed that in 2022. I also enjoyed Thought Thursday from the fall of 2014. That was a project that's basically damn near a classic, I'd have to say. Well, it's definitely a pretty ravenous type one. The thing about Chippy Nonstop is she's kind of a low-key artist, just within the sense that she kind of is just a lot more frenetic. It's kind of more snap rap and kind of staccato like, kind of garage band type music in particular, but I do like the concept of it. It's just some pretty interesting internet type rap to kind of get here. You can tell by the cover, when you see the artwork on the thumbnail of this particular review, you're going to see the concept of just like the factoid behind talking about what this Money Dance 101 particularly kind of is. So Chippy Nonstop was somewhat leet speak kind of centric as far as that particular pitch kind of goes along with it. Just some good concepts. When you download this tape, I think if you search hard enough, I think there's like a couple places you can download this particular tape, and these particular songs have like emojis in like the song titles. Like every single one of these, Bounce, Hot Gal, Money Dance, some of these type ones, Jump Shot the Money, so I know it's real. They all have emojis like in there in particular, which is an interesting concept, because I can't think of too many folks that put like emojis in like their song titles when they have song titles pitches like that. So it's a pretty good concept. But basically, a lot of this music, if you're completely new to Chippy Nonstop, I would have to say, if you like Krayshawn's Gucci Gucci or Bumpin' Bumpin', some of those type ones off of Krayshawn's early projects from like the early 2010s, I'd say Chippy Nonstop is definitely like a pretty good, this overall ferocious cousin Krayshawn pitches like that, and the White Girl Mob, as far as they're particularly going to goes. Maybe less, at least with similarities to like Krayshawn. I need to listen to more of V Nasty, kind of confirm whether that's as full blown, but Lil Debbie's kind of more trap oriented. But I would have to say, just within the concept, this is definitely some good. It's kind of low key, a lot of house party type music, residential type fare on here, just stuff like that, pitches to that relative vernacular. Just what I'd say is some good concepts, just to kind of get real ferocious type stuff. Really do appreciate, like most Chippy Nonstop projects, I do appreciate a lot of these. This kind of concept that these are tougher to track down as far as that would kind of happen with it, but it is some good stuff. So basically, there's only 5 songs on this particular mixtape. I'd have to say, I'm assuming that Money Dance was the single, was just kind of the concept that there's not really, there might have been music videos, but it's just kind of more, and like the after effect of just not being around as much to really find that information. There's just not a ton of information really abundantly about it with Chippy Nonstop, I would have to say. I realize that there's at least one more project by her. She dropped the project in 2021 that I'm going to have to get to, just to kind of get some more projects by her kind of up and running, I'd have to say. But I kind of makes me wonder how many more projects there are. I just wonder, because I want to say that Chippy Nonstop dropped 5 projects, which would be Global School Twerk, this one, Money Dance 101. There was a 2013 EP, which I forgot the name of that one. I reviewed that back in like early 2023. Forgot what that one particularly is called. And then there was Thought Thursday from late 2014. And then there was like a 2021 project that she dropped with the DJ as far as their pitch kind of went. But it just makes me wonder if there's anything else that kind of happened, especially like in the mid 2010s, if she just vanished after 2014 as far as that pitch can happen. But yeah, there's 5 songs on here. This mixtape's going to get a 10 out of 10 because I recommend all 5 of these. Definitely pretty ferocious. Just understand the concept that if you don't like folks like Krayshawn, the Millionaires, the more low-key type stuff, it's relatively low-key just within the sense of just kind of, there is some nightclub bounce in here. I feel like Hot Gal's a nice one for that particular pitch, but I look after it, it's just kind of Chippy Nonstop when she's more hungry and that sort of stuff, just the aspect of when she was real full-blown crazy and just a wild card just to really play as far as that particular kind of happens. It's an excellent type concept kind of get here. I'm glad that she didn't really, I definitely like her in this aspect pretty well, I'd have to say, just the concept. I definitely like her in this aspect pretty well, I'd have to say. say glad that, and somewhat more glad that she didn't modernize and things like that, as she would have started to settle down and just had more pitches of just kind of being more commercialized. So it's just a good concept. A lot of this is just the ferocity behind it. Songs like So I Know It's Real, Jump Shot the Money, Money Dance, some of those type one, just in particular, just like the ferocity behind a lot of these is just, it gets pretty blitzed in terms of like the head trip that you're going to have. A lot of these are pill popping head trips, smoking head trips, pitches like that. Just pretty glitz type overall appeal that a lot of these, you probably, depending upon how turned up you get off some of these, you may not remember some of the concepts of just how some of these type of appeals kind of happen, which is a pretty good concept. You know, Chippy Nonstop, she's a DJ, she's a radio promoter, pitches like that. So she's like Krayshawn, she gets pretty crunk pretty quickly. So it's just a concept about that, just smaller known, just moreover about that, just if you haven't full blown messed with some of these tunes as far as that kind of goes. But this mixtape is definitely worth tracking down, so I'm just going to start talking about these. So basically one of the crazier songs on here, like I was saying, is So I Know It's Real. This is like a hella manic kind of head trip, kind of house party type tune I'd have to say in particular. It's definitely one for just like some residential type fare, good concept for that. It's like a low-key kind of evening jazz, I would definitely feel like, and this is some definite loud pack. So this one, the kind of distortion about this particular song is it doesn't really follow like a singular kind of rhythm as far as it kind of goes along with it. It has some rock in here, kind of has some electronic kind of internet type rap in here, stuff like that. This has a lot of airy type vocals, pitches like that. This very trippy type song to kind of get just an aspect. I mean, some of these, that's kind of the thing about it is it's very claustrophobic type project, I would have to say. If you do like songs like Bumpin' Bumpin' by Krayshawn, some of those type ones, Krayshawn has done songs like this. I forget the full blown ones that were off some of that, but Krayshawn's Kitties and Choppas from 2010, as far as that pitch can goes, is similar to vibes to that particular one. Some ones just within that aspect, I'd have to say. This is the lengthiest song on here, So I Know It's Real, but it's just one of the most manic type ones to kind of get most claustrophobic, so it's a pretty good concept. Money Dance is pretty similar to that one. This is a little bit more electronica type one, has a little bit more composure about it, but not much. I mean, it's not to say it's composed like this one's going to be like workship, but it's just kind of a little bit. This one's not quite as like distorted. Let's say if So I Know It's Real is like an 11 out of 10 in terms of distortion, this one's probably like maybe like a 9.5 out of 10 in terms of distortion. So it's just kind of constant. This is a warp kind of project, and I do appreciate that quite a bit. It's like a groggy and kind of late after hours kind of distortion of a song. I would definitely feel like this is like a hella wasted kind of Waffle House commute. I would definitely feel like this one almost feels like it could have been the single. Like I was saying, this is kind of one that has like relatively mild kind of commercial appeal, kind of like Krayshawn's Bumpin' Bumpin' that was at least attempted to be a single. I want to say that Chippy Nonstop put out some music videos and singles as far as that kind of went, but they're just so low key that they just kind of came and went as far as that particularly kind of went. She seemed less likely to kind of be more commercialized, and probably if she would have, it would have been something like Scene Queen or The Millionaires, like The Millionaires' 2013 album Tonight, some of those type pitches, but that's kind of the concept. So yeah, I would definitely feel like So I Know It's Real and Money Dance are like a good 1-2 punch to kind of get here. Definitely some good Waffle House commute. This really feels like a trip. Some of these just within the aspect behind it, if you're really not some of these just within the aspect behind it, if you're not feeling like demon time right now, if it's like noon or something, you're amidst like the work shift or just something like that, you're on lunch break, it may not be like the full-blown kind of music to listen to, but I look after it, this is pretty much like after hours to like a tea, I would have to say. So it's a pretty good concept for that. A real trippy type one on here that's pretty good. This one has like some good showmanship about it, is Bounce. Really appreciate this one. It's like a breezy and kind of airy smoke up type tune, I would have to say. And it's also a pill popping type. This would also be a pill popping type tune, I would have to say. Definitely for some ease pitches like that, I would have to suppose. It's like some grogginess. I would definitely feel like it's a very warped type one. It really feels like an orchestral type sample, something that would have been out of like the 1700s, something like that. It's like a smooth kind of ambient residential fare, I would definitely feel like, and this is just an overall good head trip. You got some ladies, it's like a smooth type one to just smoke with some ladies, pitches like that. It's just kind of, this one's not as much in your face as much as it is just kind of an ambient type one, kind of a romantic type one, and like a sense of just smoking with your girls and pitches like that, as far as that particular kind of goes with that. Real nice fare just to kind of appreciate that, but it's just one that you probably may not have too many memories of. It's just kind of like, you wake up and just, what was that kind of concepts and pitches like that. I would have to say it's good enough to be able to do. I like the trippiness factor of this particular one. Pretty distorted. I like the concept. Once again, some good showmanship that Chippy came up with this particular one. Hot Gal is a pretty nice one also. This is like an exotic kind of nightclub soak in the night type tune. I would definitely feel like it's pretty breezy type one to kind of get here. This is a nice mid groove kind of dance tune, I would feel like, and this is just kind of a comfy bopper. So this is kind of one. This is just kind of like a hole in the wall type nightclub as far as that pitch kind of happened. Just something, this kind of aspect of just appreciating some night type fare. Probably needed more songs like that. I was surprised that Chippy Nonstop didn't pack this mixtape full of more tunes. I would definitely say she probably could have put like 7 or 8 on here, something like that. Would have been a pretty good appeal to have had that in particular. But these are just snapping to the point, which is fine. But I definitely think Chippy probably had some extra ideas that would have been nice to have gotten, just to kind of seen some extra kind of, just to have seen how beefy this particular mixtape could have gotten just within that pitch. But a lot of these are just ferocious. The social score of this particular album is definitely going to get a pretty good rave score. Definitely needed way more songs like Hot Gal, I would have to say. Excellent type concept here. This is just kind of one that has that sort of night appeal. It's kind of a more social type one. This one's not as much house party type tune, I would say, like Money Dancing, so I know it's real in some of those type ones. Bounce is definitely kind of a more localized type one. I'd say probably one that feels like a buzz single off this particular album. Probably could have been another one that might have had a music video towards it, would be Jump Shot the Money. It's a pretty nice one. It's like a buzz song, I would definitely say. It's like a solid kind of evening turn up, I would have to say in particular. It's like a 0 to 60 type song that just gets things started pretty quick, I'd have to say. Do appreciate this one. This one kind of feels like one that could almost be played just the relative, this kind of the complete relative finish up of just work shift type fare, just one that would kind of happen, just maybe work ended like 30-40 minutes ago, just to switch up in the flip mode towards getting things started just within that pitch for the relative evening. This is kind of one, a little bit of a traverse. This is definitely an exhilarating type song to kind of get here, just typical of like early 2010s type fare, when you would think of songs by like Cobra, Starship, or some of those type folks, just EDM type sense, those type tunes that just were kind of ditch the work shift, kind of getting like a good mood, switch to flip mode, some of those type ones. It's kind of a concept in a more mixtape and more low-key type sense, I'd have to say in particular. It's a good concept. This one's kind of, I feel like Jump Shot the Money is a good pairing with Hot Gal, just a little bit more of like a kind of thump towards it. This one just has a little bit more, Jump Shot the Money just has a little bit more pounding bravado towards it, but it is a nice good kickstart, kind of get things going. So it's a good concept. So yeah, I would say Hot Gal and Jumpstart the Money are some good nightclub type songs to kind of get things going pretty quickly. Money Dance and So I Know It's Real are some house party type ones just for that sort of appeal. And then Bounce is kind of a residential hangout type fare, just within a drug trip type sense, just within a smoke trip type sense, I would have to say. So it's a good concept. Overall, pretty social blitz of an album. Just so Chippy Nonstop maintains that appeal, I'd have to say in particular. So yeah, the score of this particular mixtape gets a 10 out of 10, I would have to say. The social score gets a 10 out of 10 also, just because the overall appeal behind it, just these nightclub type bounces and things like that, just overall affability of just getting out. It's kind of the concept of some demon time type fare, Waffle House type music, and like the after hours, some grogginess, and just overall head trip type appeal that just has a lot of that. I would say the only real natch to this particular one, I'd say probably the closest thing to something that's still relative worship, just the last over a moment, just to kind of get things started pretty quickly, just 0 to 60, like I was saying, as far as that pitching goes, just the turn up factor going real high would be Jump Shot the Money. This is kind of one, kind of ditch the work hours, get towards that, just in particular, pretty good concept. Not to say to not be responsible, but just within the concept of just that's the kind of mode. Good aspects for it. Hot Gal is a nice exotic type one to kind of get here. Really appreciate the production and appeal of this particular one. Chippy's pretty good with this particular song. Money Dance is a pretty nice one to kind of get, just a real trippy type one. So just overall some social blitz, like I was saying, it's a good concept. So in terms of the future, like Chippy Nonstop dropped a project in 2021. Forgot what that one's particularly kind of called, but that's the last one. That's the last one to get to as far as that pitch kind of happens, unless she has some other projects floating around. But once again, the thing about it is just the fact that her projects are kind of low key and tough to find. But once again, her projects are kind of tougher to track down information as to how many there are in pitches like that. I had to say in particular, so it's a good enough concept. But most of these are pretty full blown classics. I want to say that most of these Chippy Nonstop projects I've given over an 8 out of 10 as far as that pitch is going to happen. Some of them have gotten 10s, like Thought Thursday, and this one in particular. I do want to say that I gave Global School of Torque like pretty much over an 8 out of 10. I think I wound up liking like at least 3 or 4 out of the 6 songs on there. That might be the one that's the most rough around the edges, but most of her projects are pretty sheer and just overall blistering quality, I'd have to say. So that's the concept. And then her 2013 EP that's actually for resale, and then her 2013 EP that's for resale that you can find if you can actually get a hold of it. It's a pretty good concept as well. That's pretty blistering type one. So that's the concept. So basically, there's another Chippy Nonstop project from 2021. I'm going to get to that one. This is a pretty classic mixtape here. I would definitely recommend downloading it, tracking it down. It's a little bit tougher to find, but just it's worth the investment as far as that pitch can go. It's full of social glamour and pitches like that. Just some exotic type songs and some elite speak and computer centric type stuff that just has that kind of has the sex appeal about it, and pitches like that. Just good for some head trips, some hangout type fare with some beesies as far as that pitch can happen. Along with it, just some summer breeze and just pitches like that overall, just for some good house party type craziness and residential type crunkness, just to be able to have just within that aspect, I say. So some good concepts.